Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Southern Virginia University Women's Soccer from the fields at Southern Virginia University. Jim Bresnahan here, along with Sam Horman, ready to bring you Knights women's soccer action. It is the Capital Conference opener as the Southern Virginia University Knights get ready to host the Salisbury Seagulls. And again, this is the opener in the Capital Conference for both teams, as the Knights will go in with a record 2-4-1, coming off a overtime victory over Randolph. Salisbury is 2-6 on the season, Sam. So again, both teams struggling as far as just the record is concerned in the non-conference, and now for the first time of the Capital Conference schedule, they'll be getting together and playing on this field tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Southern Virginia coming in with a lot of momentum. They had a big overtime win on Wednesday. They definitely are really looking to build from what they had. It was a really tight game that they played really well in, and so I think they'll just take what they had in that game and try to carry it through into this one. Yeah,
when you look at just the minutes played, the last two games, last Saturday at Averett, a 1-1 double overtime tie, and then the 2-1 single overtime victory over Randolph. So just those two games alone, a lot of minutes were put in by the Knights their last two games.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely have had some long ones, but I think really they've built on it. It's helped strengthen them. Some teams that kind of can break them down. It is a lot of minutes, but after the adrenaline wears off, if you can come off with something big like they did, it really helps build you, and you can see already a lot of energy from the Knights so far today.
Now, Salisbury is coming off a 2-1 win over Rutgers Newark. They won their opener of the season against Washington College 3-1. In between, they had lost 4 games to Lynchburg, 1-0, also to Roanoke on a 3-0 score. Virginia Wesleyan beat them 1-0, and Catholic beat them 5-4. And again, as mentioned, overall they are 2-6 on the season. The Knights are coming into this game with a record of 2-4-1. But you look at the Capital Conference, and again, this is non-conference records. Only 3 teams in the Capital Conference have winning records. Newport 7-0-1, Penn State Harrisburg 6-2, and Wesley at 3-2. Everybody else, as far as their non-conference records are concerned, are 500 or lower.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think an interesting game for Salisbury was the one against Catholic. Even with a loss, when you score 4 goals, that's quite a performance. And I think Ruthie Lucas has been the main goal scorer for Salisbury. So I think that's who the Knights are going to have to watching out for tonight.
And we are underway. Of course, a lot of these teams, both these teams, played a lot of non-conference action against ODAC opponents, just no common opponents. So it's as far as matching up scores from common opponents, we can't do that.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate thing for the Knights. It's really nice to be able to look at the schedule and tell who they've been playing, see how you fare against the same level of competition. But again, no common opponents so far between them.
Seagulls immediately going on the attack. Knights trying to get it out of the defensive area. Against Randolph the other night, the Knights started pretty quickly, and Randolph was the team that actually led early, 1-0. They had, 1 or 2 shots in the first half and were really dominated as far as time of possession and shots on goal and everything, but still was Randolph that carried a 1-0 lead late into that game. Late in the second half, the Knights were able to score late in the second half and then, of course, win it in overtime.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another point for the Knights to watch out for is Meredith Ouellette in goal. They've played a few different goalkeepers so far this season, and they seem to be – Meredith Ouellette's taken the last 2 or 3 games here, and I think it'll be interesting to see how she does.
She wasn't overly tested against Randolph. Randolph, as we mentioned just a few seconds ago, really didn't have an aggressive offense, at least in the first half.
Yeah, really only a couple of shots on her. I believe just 1 for the first half, and then she ended with about 3 or 4, I'd say. But didn't see too much action from her. She did pretty well, but again, not really challenged particularly.
There's a pass ahead. And just like that, Salisbury gets one on the board. Didn't take very long at all for the Seagulls to score their first goal. That was just a very good pass by the Seagulls, and Meredith Ouellette, she was kind of between the rock and a hard place. She could have hung back, I guess, but then it would have been a very difficult shot to stop. She tried to come out. She just didn't beat the Seagull, who was going for the ball, just didn't beat her to the ball.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. She did come out almost linear. She needs to take a little bit more space on that one, come out with her arms up. It is very difficult for the goalie to do that, but it looked like the pass was there just ahead. It looks like maybe Salisbury in the scouting report knows about Ann Powell on the other side and have elected to try to keep the ball away from her. She's a very, very quick center back for the Knights, and so it looks like they're trying to play to the other side as they already moving the ball to this near sideline here. So may have come up on the scouting report. A great through ball, though.
Yeah, unlike Randolph the other night, the Seagulls here in the first few minutes, they are very aggressive trying to go on offense.
Yeah, definitely. They're pushing up a lot of players. See a lot of pressure early on the ball against the Knights, and once they get possession, they are not afraid to just hold on to it and then work it through.
You know, for the Knights, you got Allie Rigby and really Clarissa Barton, two of their top offensive performers. What are you looking for from the Knights offensively in this game?
I think they've done pretty well down the sideline. As you mentioned, Clarissa Barton, Allie Rigby, they connect really well out on the sideline. Typically on the right side of the field, they've done pretty well. But I think where the Knights have struggled is getting to that next level. Sometimes they can get the ball deep into the corner, they can get through the defense, but then it seems that like the forwards or the strikers are not connecting from the wings, and they just kind of get stagnant in the middle. And that's the most dangerous part of the field. So you want to see a little bit more movement, a little bit more complicated movement from the Knights forwards. They do pretty well in the mids. They've got some really good runners out on the sides, but I want to see a little more movement from the strikers as far as creating space for other players.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. In the first few minutes, we've only played about 2 or 3 minutes here, but the Seagulls have been very crisp with their passes.
Yeah, they've really been doing well. You can see a lot of movement from them and just working down the sideline to get the ball quickly up.
Trailing 1-0, the Knights are, and the Seagulls look like they want to go back on the attack again. Knights are trying to get the ball out of the defensive area. Needless to say, the Seagulls not just really looking for offense in this first half in the first few minutes, but they are aggressive all over the field.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see they keep the pressure on early. The Knights not getting off too many clean passes because Salisbury is just shutting those down early.
And you can see, Sam, with these passes, the Seagulls really want to try to control the ball.
Yeah, they're doing a really good job of that. You can see when they're on defense, they kind of cluster up and shut down anything the Knights are going for. But then once they get on offense, you can see them spread out really quickly and open up for each other. It's doing a pretty good job to find the next pass and just playing it quick. That's really what makes a good offense, is not holding on to the ball too long and just getting those quick passes.
Then we'll see how the Knights eventually respond to a very quick goal, something they're probably not used to, at least in the last few games.
Yeah, really, it's kind of unfortunate for the Knights. It can affect the mentality, but looks like they're still trying to play their game here.
You know, obviously a long way to go, but then again, the Knights are trailing here 1-0 early on. And you look at the Seagulls' record of 2-6, and as we talked about before we started today, just hard to get a read on some of these Capital Conference teams when they have these not so great non-conference records, just really what kind of a quality of a team they might be.
Yeah, it is difficult. They did go 3 games in a row without scoring, and so that could be a telling sign. But given how they've showed up tonight, it doesn't seem to be the case.
Knights trying to get control of the ball so they can go on offense.
Salisbury already not afraid to just take time off the clock. You see the goalie just waiting for the striker there. Smart play, trying to keep it calm. Even with their pretty fast-paced attack, they definitely seem to be not afraid to just take their time and be patient.
Yeah, it kind of looks like they're comfortable almost with any tempo in this game.
Yeah, they've really just played whatever they need to, and so far, I mean, even it took about 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and they got a goal that quickly, so they're not afraid to play their own pace.
And a steal by the Seagulls. Knights had possession, gave it up. Southern Virginia trying to move it ahead. The Seagulls trying to take it away here.
Good opportunity here for the Knights to get it out. It definitely looked like they were struggling to clear that one just a little bit.
Jan will have it. This 5'5" senior kicks it ahead, but the Seagulls battling the Knights for the ball at every turn right now.
Yeah, they've really been all over the field. They're doing a great job. You can see already their wings out on the sideline, clear up on the very end. That's a really disciplined winger out there. They're doing a really good job of spreading the field. Ball played just a little bit too deep there. Looks like it'll roll out for a Knights goal kick.
And then you wonder, Sam, and you mentioned the kind of different goalkeepers the Knights have had in this 2017 season. You wonder if that'll continue, or if the coaching staff have decided, at least for the time being, to let Meredith Willett take over as the number one goalkeeper.
Yeah, it looks like she has started the last 3 games, but as did Carmel Armstrong and Katie Vaughn. Each 4 games for Carmel and 3 for Katie Vaughn. But the Knights definitely have shifted through some goalies. They've had a pretty fair spread, so each one of them gets about 3 games in a row, and then shifted out. There's no injuries or anything of that nature as far as I know, and so really it just looks like they prepare for each team by the week and by the game, and then choose the goalie accordingly.
Yeah, you wonder if with so many goalkeepers, so many options, I guess, if the Knights really think that a certain goalkeeper might fit best against a certain opponent.
Yeah, it's difficult to say because it is true. There's some goalies that are much more vocal. There's some that are just, much more physical or better at coming off the line. It does depend. There's definitely strengths and weaknesses for each one of them. And
I assume some other differences might be just how aggressive they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as we'll see later in the men's game, Colin Flynn, an excellent example of really good at coming off the line, which has been interesting for the men's team. In the last couple games has been a tough thing, and so as we saw earlier, Meredith Willett not afraid to come off the line. She wasn't able to capitalize on that one. It is a really tough thing to do, but each one has their own strengths and weaknesses, and so I'm guessing Coach Cox really knows them well and is trying to put the best person in the position for it.
Of course, on that goal by Salisbury, she came off the line and tried to get to the ball. Just again, maybe by a yard or so, she was a little bit short getting to it.
Yeah, she was. It's very difficult. It is a skill that is very difficult for goalies to get, to know exactly when to go and how to slide.
Because if you don't reach that ball, it's pretty much going to be a sitting duck. Now, even if you stay back, it's obviously a little bit better than coming out and not getting to the ball in time, in which case it's an empty goal for the attacker. But even if she had hung back on that goal, I'm not sure how that would have worked out.
Yeah, I think she did do the smart thing, come off the line there. In that situation, you want to shut down as much of the goal as you can. So I think she did do the right thing. It's I maybe could have adjusted her slide just a little bit. Obviously, easy to say looking back on film and having seen the result of it. You want to change some things, but really she didn't play it too bad. It's just it's a tough move, and sometimes it's hard to work out.
When you talk about the goalkeeper's attempt at a slide, is there always one way to do that, or multiple ways? And what's the purpose of the slide? The slide is to knock the attacker off the ball, or actually kick the ball away.
It can depend, because it depends on the angle that the ball is coming in. It depends on what angle you're running out at. In that instance, she may have been just a little bit better off to keep her arms up just a little bit. It looked like they were a little bit low. And so I think maybe if she'd have come out with her arms up and then facing, you want to kind of square up to the ball a little bit on that. And it's so tough because you're sprinting out and you still want to take up as much space as you can, and it is very difficult. So, on that one, maybe arms up just a little bit more. It was a low shot, which you can kind of expect. They're not trying to shoot it too hard, and so it's not going to end up in the top of the net probably, which is why you keep the hands kind of low, keep a pretty low base. But really not that bad a play. I think the Knights just got caught off guard, as did Meredith Willett in that instance.
And it was, again, just a tremendous pass.
Yeah, a wonderful through ball. And then a great shot. It wasn't even powerful. It was just cleanly placed into the side. And that's the danger, is it's just a quick pass, really, more than a shot, but it ends up in the back of the net.
As far as the Knights are concerned here, Sam, they really haven't had much offense to speak of here in the first 10 or 11 minutes.
Not too much. It seems like the strengths that have been there for them in the last couple games, Cora Jewell in the middle, and Clarissa Barton, Allie Rigby, working the ball through. Looks like it's been a little bit of a struggle. They're just kind of working through the motions right now, but hopefully they'll settle down in the next few minutes and just get a good possession.
Really could use a goal. The one thing they don't want to do here against Salisbury in this game is fall behind by 2 or 3 goals.
Yeah, absolutely. In their last game we saw against Catholic, they even with a loss, scoring 4 goals, they're definitely not afraid to score. They've had quite a few different players as well. Number 10, Ruthie Lucas, has been their leading goal scorer with 4 on the season, leading with 17 shots as well. So she's done a wonderful job. But they do have a few other goal scorers, and so the Knights can't afford to give up too many opportunities.
Yeah, strange how you mentioned how they were shut out several games in a row and then come against Catholic and score 4 goals.
Yeah, and I don't know how difficult of an opponent Catholic is. I'm not too familiar with them, but I know if you're getting 9 combined goals in a game it was a 5-4 loss, but that's quite a lot of offense and not a whole lot of defense. So it is an interesting turnaround from going 3 games without a goal.
We have played about 13 minutes so far, and again, Salisbury's on top here, 1-0. Knights are trying to get it out of their defensive end, and for the first 13 minutes or so, that's been something they've been trying to really deal with almost for 9 or 10 of those 13 minutes.
Yeah, and we should mention as well, it is a very hot day today.
It is indeed.
It was about 85, I'd say, and with that turf, it can definitely heat up, and so I think sometimes the players slow down and maybe a little bit sluggish. It's when it's this hot, it does affect you. I know both teams really trying to stay hydrated, but there's a lot that does factor in. You can see a little bit of shade coming in, but especially if you're wearing black cleats, it can really heat up your feet and just slow you down a little bit.
Yeah, the football game at 1 o'clock this afternoon between Kane and Southern Virginia. Kane won that game, for those who didn't join us, 28-14. Out of the temperatures that I'm assuming were anywhere from the mid to upper 80s and must have felt like a 95 to 100 perhaps at times. How did that impact you guys out there on the football field?
Yeah, we had plenty of people running up and down the sidelines with water bottles, really trying to stay hydrated. I think we came in knowing that it would be that hot, so it wasn't too much of a factor, but it definitely it just changes how much you're drinking, really, hopefully. I think really we had a pretty good game plan, and
it really was a strange game, too. I mean, Kane took the opening possession. They took off a lot of time off the clock in the first quarter before they scored. Mm-hmm. And you guys, in your first 2 possessions, had the ball to start. A great save there by Willette, and she makes a second save. Oh, wow.
It's like it bounced up off the crossbar into the field goal post. And
it's like another corner kick coming up.
Yeah, Willette the last to touch it there, so it will be another corner. Good cross in there.
See what the Seagulls decide to do on this corner kick.
It's like almost the same play, just kind of crashed the box, but this ball goes far post.
Too far, though. Nice header taken in by the Seagulls, who are still trying to work for an open shot. So you guys on your first 2 offensive possessions in this game against Kane started at the 3 and the 5-yard line, so it was bad starting position for Southern Virginia's offense, that Kane opening drive, which chewed up a lot of time off the clock, and then, of course, to wrap up the first half, that block punt that resulted in a touchdown. So it was a rather strange first half.
Yeah, it was definitely not exactly what we were looking for, especially, as you mentioned, the block punt. That was a tough one for us, but I think at the end we really showed we got a lot of good things. We got a lot to work on, obviously. Things aren't perfect, but I think, finishing out the game for us was really strong. Getting a touchdown right at the end really showed, not a team that wants to give up, and stay true to SVU form. The women's soccer team as well. Usually in their last few games, last 5 minutes, they really turn it on, as they did in their last game. Managed to get a goal, put it into overtime, and then 9 minutes later, ended the game on a golden goal. So staying true to SVU form, finish out the game strong.
Only problem is, of course, in the New Jersey Athletic Conference for football, there's just really no off days. And you guys next week have a huge challenge, maybe one of the bigger ones of the season, when you hit the road to go to Delaware to play Wesley.
Yeah, Wesley's definitely a pretty quick team. They're really good in a lot of things. But, I think we really learned a lot this week, last week, building a lot of things. And, we'll see how we show up.
Another corner kick coming up for Salisbury here. They lead 1-0 here in the first half.
Corner's been another area where the Knights struggled just a little bit. They definitely give up more than an average team per game. I think in a couple games this season, they've given up as many as 12 or 13. So far, Salisbury not really capitalizing. They had one good shot, but I think the other 3 have kind of just gone amiss. But the Knights can't afford to give up too many corners. it's just free opportunities for Salisbury. And so,
what's your estimation too? Do the Knights need to increase the number of corner kicks they're getting in their season as they get into capital play?
Absolutely, they haven't earned that many. They're probably about 2 or 3 a game at most. And again, it's free opportunities that they're not getting. And given how well they get the ball downfield into the attacking third, they really need to create some more opportunities. Salisbury doing a good job moving the ball down here. Almost connects on a header there, but just a little bit ahead. Not able to put it in.
And if that had been a little bit more on the money, and I'm not sure if the pass was a little early or if the other player just didn't get there in time, but that could have really been a tough one to handle for Meredith Willett.
Yeah, those are very difficult. That close on a ricochet header, those are really difficult to read. So I think that would have been difficult. Luckily for the Knights, pass not quite on the mark, but it looked like that is a play that they've rehearsed, play that they've worked on, something they've drawn up. Is the runner was clearly on the same page as the wing there. So Knights need to watch out for that one moving forward.
I would imagine when it comes to those kind of plays, you almost have to go with a scripted play. It's kind of hard, I would imagine, to ad-lib something like that.
Yeah, there's definitely drills and things you want to work on. Obviously, as fluid as soccer is, it's tough to stage that. It's hard to kind of script it, but I'm sure that's something that they've worked on extensively. I mean, that clearly shows up as something that didn't just happen. I mean, you work on the crossing drills and finding a cutter and those type of things all the time. So that is something that they've clearly worked on and have been successful at. But I think the Knights need to go into their bag and find those things as well.
Good defensive play there by the Knights to keep it away from the goal, at least momentarily, by Kyra Tolbert, who played in 12 games as a freshman defender last year. But the Knights have really struggled here, Sam, in this first half to get this ball out of their defensive end and really put together a serious offensive attack. Yeah, I'm not sure they've even had a shot on goal just yet.
Yeah, not really. We haven't seen the same kind of control and composure from the Knights, or even the just play it over the top and hope that someone's there. We haven't really seen a whole lot of attack from them. They're having a hard time going to their strengths. I think Salisbury recognized the few players that really have stood out for the Knights, and I think they've done a good job of shutting them down, but it looks like they're trying to settle down, find something upfield, but Salisbury's back line doing a really good job.
The Knights have just not been able to carry the ball in and maintain possession in the offensive area.
I think it has led to some frustration as well. Sometimes a miscommunication between teammates. You expect one thing from them, and when that doesn't happen, it can be a little bit frustrating. And I think on the other end, Salisbury pretty well on the same page with a lot of their teammates. So it has resulted in some good opportunities for them. You see some pressure deep into the box here.
Yeah, well, that comes out for that one.
As you saw, another great cross in. It looks like that's Salisbury's attempt there. They had quite a few players up too, so really it could have been dangerous for the Knights if Ouellette's not coming off her line there.
Salisbury comes up with a loose ball, though, at least momentarily. Now the Knights are trying to grab hold of it. It just seems, Sam, like at least in this first half, Salisbury is a little quicker to getting to the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks kind of like the Knights are kind of scrambling in a few positions. The defense hasn't quite been as solid as they were in games past. Midfield really not able to maintain the possession, slow it down, get a few passes strung together. It's definitely been a different game for the Knights than we've seen so far this season.
Seagulls with that short interior passing, trying to get it over the top. Ouellette right there.
There's a good string of passes there by the Seagulls. That is really difficult to defend as they take that almost triangle formation there. Just a few quick touch passes, and then look like ball over the top to try to find someone. But Knights have a good opportunity to build here. I think that pass from Cora Jewell not quite where she was going for. Looked like they're looking for Clarissa Barton down in that corner. I've had a lot of success with her making that run, so good to see the Knights trying to go to their strengths here.
Yeah, Barton and Rigby have had a hard time really even getting close to the ball in offense.
Yeah, I'm sure they were on the scouting report. Salisbury recognizing they've definitely been a threat for the Knights, although statistically not incredibly significant. We've seen Taylor Mercer got the game-winning goal in the last game. I've seen a couple goals from a few other players, Allie Rigby with 5 on the season. But I think that's what makes Clarissa Barton so dangerous is she doesn't have any goals, but she has 3 assists. She's really good at setting up the other players. She gets the ball down in that corner and finds someone in the middle, usually an Allie Rigby or whoever's there. And really, that's been the Knights' strong suit. So hopefully we can continue to see him go for that.
And you could probably make the argument that the person doing the assisting is even more important than the person doing the scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost more difficult to get the ball in and set it up and than it is to just put it in. She has had some really good assists, almost just too easy for the people she's hooking up on the other end. Like Knights go over the top here to Allie Rigby, but she was in an offside position there.
Knights continue to struggle to gain possession. Unless this really changes, Sam, the last thing the Knights want to have happen is go down by 2, and that shot by Salisbury is just off to the right.
Yeah, that was really close. It looks like the Knights are kind of struggling to keep their formation. You can see about 4 or 5 players in the attacking third and the striker's position, but the midfield not really present for the Knights. I think it's creating a gap between the defense and the attackers. Looks like they're having a hard time controlling that middle. People a little out of place trying to play defense, striker, and I think the heat can factor in. It makes you a little bit less inclined to get up and down the field. The Knights have really been showing really well in their conditioning. They're really not afraid to do that, so I'm not sure what's creating that gap in the midfield, but definitely not able to possess like they normally do so far.
And you probably have to give a lot of that credit to Salisbury. Again, they've just really been aggressive in their offensive end, good sharp passing, and they seem to be content just to really possess the ball, whether they're going forwards or backwards.
Yeah, and I think that's what's been so dangerous for them. They're just holding on to the ball. Causes a little bit of frustration for the Knights as we see a little bit of a step-on move there. Quite an interesting one, but able to maintain possession even when they're not doing that well on it. Looks like we'll have an offsides here against Salisbury.
Salisbury's also had several corner kicks in this first half. The Knights yet to get one. The men's soccer contest against Salisbury will follow this game approximately 8 o'clock.
Be another good one, and the sun will be down on that one, a little bit more cool. I think both teams looking forward to playing under the lights. It's definitely a privilege to come out and do that. Those are some of the best games.
And it'll be for each team, both Salisbury and Southern Virginia, will be their Capital Conference opener.
Yeah, and that's usually quite a competitive game as well. I know the men's team had a couple of tough games this season, so they're looking to fix some things pretty quick here.
Yeah, when you look at the men's soccer standings for the Capital Conference, again, no conference games having been played yet. Penn State Harrisburg was 6-2. Newport was 4-2. Mary Washington was 4-2-1. And again, just like the women, those were the only 3 teams with a plus 500 record. Salisbury was 3-5, and Southern Virginia was 3-5 in the non-conference.
Salisbury again looking for that run. Knights able to clear that one out. Looks like it'll just roll out for a throw-in.
In your estimation, Sam, and maybe it's going to have to occur maybe in the second half. Don't know if the Knights can turn it around here in the first half, but the way they've been playing, I guess, and again, you got to credit a lot of that to Salisbury. How do the Knights figure out a way to consistently and aggressively go on offense?
Yeah, I think it really just starts with possession. They haven't really built anything. They haven't really strung anything together. They're trying to find a a 20-yard pass or a 15-yard pass. And clearly where Salisbury's beat them is, a 5-yard pass or a 3-yard pass.
Yep.
They've really contained well. You can see right here just a little movement, and then, 5-yard pass there, 10-yard pass there, but it's the quick passes that build up to that. I think the Knights haven't really gotten any short passing. They're just trying to find the long passes. You can see already, right now, there's nobody around the person with the ball. Nobody's within 5-10 yards. So she starts spinning around trying to find something, and ends up at the feet of Clarissa Barton on a 20-yard pass, but difficult to control.
And you can see that, as we mentioned earlier, Salisbury at times will advance backwards with a pass simply to maintain possession.
Yeah, the
and to
drop
kind of
ball,
reset things, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, the drop ball really hasn't been too present for the Knights. They're just trying to play up, trying to keep that attacking mentality, which it isn't so bad. It's good to keep trying to move the ball upfield, keep building the attack, but a lot of times you build the attack through the defense. You can build the attack from anywhere on the field. If your whole team's upfield, it's a lot more effective than just having 2 strikers or 4 midfielders. So they really need to incorporate their whole team, and I think that's kind of where they've been struggling. Sometimes that mentality of get the ball upfield almost gets in the way of using the whole team. So I think they just need to settle down. I really haven't seen what we've seen from them in previous games. Build on the short passing game. Clearly, it's worked for Salisbury, and I think the Knights need to employ a little bit of that themselves.
Yeah, when the Knights have been in their offensive area, and it hasn't been too much here in the first half, they just haven't been there very long at all.
Yeah, not really. I think in the almost 30 minutes that have gone, we've seen a few minutes of controlled possession from the Knights, but usually only 4 or 5 passes, and then it kind of breaks down for them. So really they need to get a few more passes. You can see right now it's okay to just play with it around the midfield area there.
Knights are looking for an opening here. They go over the top. Good pass. And the shot went way, way high. Boy, that was a good look, Sam. And the shot taken by the Knights went way over the goal.
Yeah, that's a great job, though. Allie Rigby taking the pass from Cora Jewell there, getting down into the corner. And that has been a strength for the Knights, is that little layoff ball there. You can see she's pretty deep in. She could have gone a little bit deeper. She didn't quite make it inside the 6-yard box. And on that pass, you want to lay it off nice and level. And I think that ball just bouncing a little bit. And as we saw there on the shot, that little bounce can result in about 40 yards in the air. So,
although no one was really near her, did she need to rush like that?
No, I think she had time to take a touch, but that's a communication issue. Someone else, obviously, you do want to be able to look up as you see the pass, but you also want to rely on your teammates.
Right.
They got to be telling you if you got time or if you just have to one-touch it. And it looked like she didn't get it on that one, so she just took the shot, played it safe. But
well, that's probably the aspect of soccer that is least appreciated, is the communication skills.
Yeah, it's one sport where everybody's down on the field together. Everybody's in there together. And so, you got to use that. You got to take it to your advantage. Football, very difficult to, yell things even to the teammate next to you or from the sideline especially. But soccer, they definitely got to, that can be the difference in a goalkeeper as well.
Now, do you have a lot when it comes to communication skills? The other team trying to perhaps, with a little deception, bark out orders for the players that really aren't their teammates?
You do see a little bit of that. It's obviously not quite
Pass it over here.
Yeah, not quite as sporting as
Right, yeah.
it's not the greatest sportsmanship, but you will see a couple jokesters that do that. Really, for the most part, though, it's fairly obvious if you have a lot of time or not. And so, you recognize your own teammates' voices, especially, teams that have played together a long time.
Sure.
And so you will get a few people that do that. I may or may not have done that a couple of times in defense. Tell them they have, absolutely no time. They take a terrible shot. And
Right.
they look up and realize they've got 30 feet. But, not too much of that. But you do want to see your own teammates over-communicating on that you do have time. And I think that's the difference in taking that touch, settle it, and then shoot it. That's the difference between the ball going 40 yards in the air or just, a great shot into the back of the net.
Well, hey, on the plus side, again, Salisbury scored their one and only goal in the opening minutes, literally the opening 90 seconds, I guess, of this game today. And they have not scored for almost 30 minutes.
Yeah, the Knights defense, I think, caught off guard initially. The first 90 seconds of the game, everybody's settling in, trying to realize the pace of the game, the tempo, everything going on. Great through ball from Salisbury. Great cutting run through there on a diagonal. But
and usually, it probably depends on the opponent, I suppose, but usually a lot of teams will use the first 3, 4, 5 minutes as a feeling out process. Probably a good strategy to really come out like gangbusters and hope to take the other team off guard.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you should do. It's what you want to see from both teams. Salisbury obviously coming out stronger in this one, but yeah, I think really the defense did struggle for the first maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes trying to feel them out. But I think since then they've done pretty well, not allowing too many things through, and allowing the Knights to build just a little bit from it.
Knights trying to get an opening over on the right side now, trailing here 1-0 in the first half.
Another ball down into Clarissa Barton. That's a good attack from the Knights. Just a little bit strong.
What changes do you think the coaching staff could make to try to generate a little bit more offense in the second half?
I think obviously you can move positions and you can switch the formation or anything, but I really think it's a mental thing. I guess we'll have a little bit of formation change here. Taylor Mercer coming off and McCall Jensen coming on. I think that's a smart change. McCall Jensen really good at getting the ball and turning and finding another player. She's really good at laying it off for another player and maintaining possession for the Knights. I think Taylor Mercer, very fast attacker, and so it's really good to try to get that ball over the top into the corner, try to find her on a cutting run. But McCall Jensen, just a different strategy. Really good at keeping possession and containing defenders off the ball as well, shielding them. So it looks like Coach Cox trying to slow down the game a little bit. I think the quick, fast-paced tempo really has favored Salisbury so far. So maybe trying to slow the game down. I think really, though, Coach Cox just needs to address the mentality. The Knights have the right mentality. They're attack, but I think sometimes we forget that you can attack by using your defense, dropping the ball, waiting a little bit, and that can be difficult.
The faster pace by Salisbury obviously was responsible for that opening goal, the one and only goal we've seen so far, but it's also been responsible for Salisbury able to maintain control of the ball in the attack area, and if they continue to do that in the second half, it's going to be hard for the Knights to even have a shot on goal, let alone a good look at a goal.
Yeah, I think, again, that's another area where if you can, just getting a corner, it's not incredibly difficult to get that corner, and I think that could really help out the Knights get some free opportunities. But so far, Salisbury really dominating the corners as they have 4 on the game. The Knights yet to get one.
I imagine, too, it's also another factor going to be how deep your bench is with these kind of weather conditions until, as you mentioned, the sun goes down. You might do some, liberal substitutions to take advantage of really to try to keep the heat from being a factor.
Yeah, it looks like we've only had about 3 or 4 substitutions come on, but as we enter the last 10 minutes of the first half here, I think there may be a few more. Really, dehydration can become an issue quickly when the temperature's above 80. Turf gets really hot. That black turf definitely heats players up. You can see a few players already, hands on hips, breathing heavy. So I think we may see a few more substitutions to round out the first half. Great interception there, Clarissa Barton. See the Knights so close to breaking through. You can see them getting that formation, getting a few quick passes, but not able to keep the fluid motion to keep it going. You can see players running away from the ball and just kind of spreading out, which you do want to an extent, but also you need to make sure that pass is available.
Yeah, here comes Salisbury again, trying to control, but there's a takeaway by the Knights. They try to work it up the left side, but really no one there.
Looks like Kylie Auger was thinking that there was a run up the left sideline there, but another communication issue, not quite on the same page as the other player. Another good through ball from the Seagulls there.
They've got 2 over on the left side.
It's got across in there, and it results in a goal kick for the Knights. But again, dangerous through ball there, and she definitely had help in the center. Not able to get it there, but another scare for the Knights defense.
Of course, we talked through balls. I guess another factor there would be team speed, just how quick your players are to get to that ball.
Yeah, the Seagulls definitely had 3 players up there pretty quick, but again, the Knights back line also very quick. Ann Powell usually a defensive anchor for him back there, and she's very quick to the ball, so not too much of a threat, but again, those numbers can really be dangerous.
And Salisbury's on top here, 1-0. They scored literally in the opening minutes of this first half. Neither team has scored since. Salisbury's had a few looks at it, and the Knights, I believe, still looking for their first shot on goal.
Yeah, really haven't had too much attacking opportunity. One good attack into the corner, found a good layoff into the center, but the shot was not exactly where they wanted, went a little bit over.
To the speed of Van Powell there.
Did a good job trying to shield off and allow it to roll out for the goal kick. They can't give up too many corners. Kira Tolbert unable to clear it out. Looks like the Knights still trying to clear it out.
Missed pass there by the Seagulls.
It's a good pass there by Cora Jewell, just trying to find the next player. I think that's what the Knights need. Just slow it down, try to find the next player. But looks like it'll just roll out. Knights maintain possession.
Yeah, I would imagine patience would be another key factor. You don't have to get it from one end to the other in literally 10 or 15 seconds.
No, and it's so hard because as a player on the field, you know, you're very optimistic in your own ability, and you think I can get that pass there. You know, it's a 20 yards. It's got to be a good ball, but sometimes, you know, you look for a complicated pass, and really that's what's hard is you just got to find the simple ones a lot of times. It's really the simple things that build up, and so, you know, sometimes you can be a little bit overconfident in thinking that pass is there, and sometimes it's just not. Really, you got to just control it and hopefully play the short ball. Sometimes, you know, those long balls have worked. You can build from those, but by and large, most of the game is spent on short-range passes, just maintaining possession.
That pass towards the middle, intercepted momentarily by Salisbury. Under 5 minutes to go here in the first half. 1-0 Seagulls.
Cora Jewell having a shot on goal there from about 35 yards out. Not quite as strong as I think she would have liked.
Did have a player open on the right side too.
Yeah, I think that's been a hard thing for the Knights is the vision of trying to find the next player. Really need to kind of open the eyes, and again, communication, as we've already discussed, a big factor into that. It is good to be able to use that vision as a player, but also got to rely on the teammates to help you find it if you can't see it.
Although, again, it's still the first half. You got 45 minutes still left in the second half, but when you go without a goal, as you go deeper and deeper into the game, Sam, how much more desperate do you become to try to score?
You know, with a 1-0 and a couple of opportunities, it's not too bad for the Knights, but Salisbury continuing to build, gets across into the box, and those are the moments right there where it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. With 4 minutes left in the first half, I think the Knights really trying to just hold on to what they have here. Still attacking, still trying to get the ball upfield, but you can't give up a goal here. So far, I think the Knights maintaining their composure, not able to really settle down and play their game, but so far I haven't really seen any signs of panic from them, just maintaining that 1-0.
Well, of course, they played a 1-1 game against Averett in double overtime and then rallied late in the game against Randolph when they were down 1-0 late in the second half to score the tying goal, get to overtime, and win it in overtime.
Yeah, and that was a pretty quick turnaround from the Knights. Obviously, you don't want to wait until the 84th minute to get a goal, but as the Knights proved against Randolph, that can work. Waited till about the 84th minute, got a goal, tied it up, took it into overtime, and then 9 minutes in, got a golden goal by Taylor Mercer and a wonderful shot. But that's not what you want to see if you're Coach Cox, and the Knights. You can't win every game in the 84th minute.
Although when I was leaving that night, there were a few Randolph fans here too, and I think they were probably wondering how they lost that game.
Yeah, it was definitely a strange game. Most of the game was controlled by the Knights heavily. They had most of the possession, did really well in getting kicks, free kicks, corner kicks, getting attacks up the field, shots on goal. Really controlled everything except for the scoreboard. They were down almost the entire game, and then all of a sudden turned it around, and within 15 minutes won the game. But that's not going to work for the Knights every time, so they really got to try to get some points on the board earlier than that.
Yeah, I would imagine the result of that Randolph game, as far as the Knights were concerned, that's not going to happen too much during the season.
No, it definitely won't, and that's not something that you can rely on. It was a great win for them, but you're not looking to do that too many times, especially as it does get later into the season. Those overtime games can start to build. Again, as we mentioned, conditioning been really good for the Knights. Haven't seen too many signs of fatigue in any of the games so far. I know Coach Cox works on that pretty well, but you just want to score and keep yourself in the game early. A lot of times, if you can score early, you don't have to compete quite as hard if you can just take the lead and control the game your way. Not only is it's just a little bit easier. I mean, it's not that you play any less hard, but the other team kind of gives up, and so you can just play your style, and it just becomes easier. So that would really help out the Knights to just maintain their style of play and kind of wear on the opponent. But looks like Salisbury so far, I'd say definitely controlled the first part, but Knights trying to settle down as we enter the last minute of the half here.
And here is where the Knights certainly don't want to give up any last-second goals.
Yeah, absolutely not. That's not what you want to do going into halftime, as the football team experienced earlier today.
And Salisbury is on the attack with some good passing.
Rolls out for a corner kick for Salisbury, their fifth of the half.
A little edgy here, depending on what the Seagulls try to do.
Yeah, bringing a few extra players, a few players unmarked. Salisbury still working it around with 10 seconds left on the clock.
High shot blocked away by Willette.
Great job not allowing anything into halftime. That was a dangerous little opportunity there for the Seagulls. Had a pretty good shot, had a decent angle, but Willette able to push that one up over the crossbar, and a great job.
And we've come to halftime. How about your impressions of that first half, and what do you think the Knights are going to have to do differently to try to rally from a 1-0 deficit in the second half?
That half wasn't what we've seen from the Knights so far. I don't think Coach Cox is going to be particularly happy. That's not the style of play they are used to, not what they normally do. You want to see some more build-up. You want to see some more different styles of play from them. And they've tried to go to some of their strengths, but really, I think Salisbury had a pretty good scouting report on them, doing a good job shutting them down. So I think you need to involve their players. They recognize that a few of the players are, quite talented, but so's the rest of the team. That's what they're forgetting. They're trying to go to their strengths, which isn't a bad thing, but they have to recognize there's other players that are just as good. They've had quite a few other players step up and do pretty well. So, I mean, someone else has to step up if their normal strengths aren't going to, and I think that all starts from short-range passing. They are not afraid to get it down deep into the attacking third, but it's not going to happen on a long ball every time, so you got to work the ball down. I think short-range passing is where they've kind of let themselves down, so I think that's what Coach Cox will be addressing at halftime.
So our halftime score here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. It is Salisbury 1 and Southern Virginia University nothing. We'll take a little break here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. Jim Bresnahan along with Sam Horman back here at the fields at Southern Virginia University for women's soccer. Halftime score, Salisbury 1 and Southern Virginia University nothing. And later in this second half, we'll bring Nash Jones into the broadcast because he'll be broadcasting the second game today of our doubleheader, the soccer doubleheader, the men's game at 8 o'clock. Southern Virginia against Salisbury in the men's Capital Conference opener for both teams. And Sam, we've got the first half numbers, and needless to say, that was the first half offensively dominated by the Seagulls of Salisbury.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the stats are pretty telling on that. Shots, 9 for Salisbury in the first half, just 3 for Southern Virginia. And I think that a couple of those were optimistic shots. Not really any danger to too many of them. I think 1 or 2, but not too much. And I think really the most telling is the corner kicks. Salisbury has 5 corner kicks in the first half. Southern Virginia without one, yet to get a corner kick. And that has been an area consistently that they've struggled in throughout the year. And again, I think 5 corner kicks is the result of, 6 more shots in the first half than Southern Virginia. So, if Southern Virginia's getting 5 corner kicks there, the shots are almost level. And so I think that's an area where they really need to get something. But again, as you mentioned, they've had a hard time moving the ball up the field and really controlling it in the attacking third.
Yeah, a lot of dominant by Salisbury in several categories. 9-3 in shots, saves. The Knights had 1 save. Salisbury no saves because they didn't need to have any saves.
Yeah, really not too much threat. Cora Jewell and Clarissa Barton with 2 of the shots in the first half and have been pretty much anchors for the Knights' attack. Cora Jewell with a pretty distant shot, but on frame, did a pretty good job getting it there. And then Clarissa Barton had a pretty good attempt at a couple of shots, really good assist. A leader for the Knights, did a pretty good job making runs down the sideline, getting the ball in, but so far nothing too aggressive offensively for the Knights as compared to Salisbury.
And Ruthie Lucas, I believe Salisbury's leading scorer this season, was able to get the 1 goal of the game literally in the first minute or 2 of the game with a nice assist, by the way, on that goal by Lydia Nerum.
Yeah, that was definitely a dangerous attack. It took about 91 seconds. Lydia Nerum able to get the ball in to the leading goal scorer, Ruthie Lucas. The Knights definitely needed to be looking out for her. I'm kind of surprised in the first 90 seconds. You almost want to really key in on their biggest threat, but Knights let one go. But since then have done a pretty good job anchoring down in the defense, and Powell doing a really good job getting to the ball when she needs to. But I think Salisbury as well, familiar with Ann Powell and trying to play away from her as she's very quick on the back line there.
So what are you looking for offensively? What changes do you think the Knights will make offensively to try to really generate some more offense here in the second half?
I think it'll be through the mid. I think the strikers, the forwards, doing all right, but I think the mids have been the area of, I'd say, difficulty for the Knights so far. You got to control the ball. Obviously, you have to have the ball in order to score and to shoot, and so I think maintaining the possession has really been hard for them, and that just starts with the mids. Defense is doing a pretty decent job locking down, not really letting anything through, but I think the midfield hasn't really been there. They haven't really connected with the defense and with the attack, and I think a few key players need to make a couple of changes and try to control a little bit better through the midfield rather than just get a long pass.
And if you're the Seagulls, I'm not sure you change a whole lot. In fact, I would imagine as we get a little deeper in the second half, especially if the Seagulls add a second goal, they'll go to their passing game, possession game, with probably not too much of an intent to score a third goal, but really just keep it away from the Knights.
Yeah, they've done brilliantly on offense so far. Really have been pretty much in their own half a lot of the game, done a pretty good job building. And, as you mentioned, I wouldn't change a whole lot. The mentality's there. They're being pretty aggressive, but I think the Knights really are the ones that need to make a couple of adjustments.
And again, we're just minutes into the second half, Sam, but right now it looks like more of the first half where Salisbury is really forcing the action.
Yeah, I think they definitely have been. I'm not entirely sure what the halftime discussion was, but looks like the Knights shifting a few players. Looks like we have number 22, Taylor Mercer, back in the midfield. She's usually plays a little bit higher line, so that's an interesting adjustment. We see Allie Rigby up at the top is pretty normal, but it looks like Taylor Mercer hanging back just a little bit more than usual, and that could be to try to get her to the ball and move it up quickly. Knights get a couple of consecutive throw-ins here.
Knights, by the way, after this one, will be playing Emory and Henry next Tuesday, and then they have their first road conference game at Penn State Harrisburg next Saturday as Salisbury fires a shot that sails over the head of Willette. That was a good look, though, for the Seagulls.
Yeah, again, Ruthie Lucas making that same run, trying to make that diagonal back in behind Ann Powell. Able to keep pressure on her, but a pretty dangerous shot, really trying to just drop that into the far post. It looks like it went off the field goal post there, and a goal kick for the Knights. But
when you look at how this game has flowed, the Knights' lack of offense, that would have been, I know there's a lot of time left here in the second half, Sam, but if that had gone in and it made it 2-0, that would have been really a big hole for the Knights to recover from.
Yeah, it's the momentum more than anything else. As you mentioned, we're only about 4 minutes into the second half here, but it's just the momentum, it's the mentality. It starts to wear on you. And so the Knights really don't want to give that one up. But just like in the first half, first couple minutes, a little bit of difficulty for them in defending Ruthie Lucas.
Knights right now just need to put together a few passes, maintain possession, a string of offensive passes, try to get the ball to the other end of the field as Willette comes out for that ball. Knights will get a little off time after this game, as we mentioned. They play non-conference on Tuesday, and then they won't play again until Saturday on the road at Penn State Harrisburg.
Yeah, pretty good gap for them. They need it after a couple of overtime games. Some pretty hard-fought games, but it is nice to take a few extra days.
And not just an overtime game, or the last two, but today, the hot temperatures and a Salisbury team that has really been forcing the action and really keeping Southern Virginia on its toes.
It's like Taylor Mercer making a good run here, trying to find Allie Rigby in the center. Looking good there, getting up the line, doing a good job, but Salisbury just able to get to that one there.
Here's another opportunity potentially for Salisbury, but the Knights do a great job knocking the Seagull off the ball and getting possession, at least momentarily.
That's a good job by Kira Tolbert. That's a really tough position coming in from behind, kind of an awkward angle, trying to get the ball there. That's really tough because if the striker goes down on that, you're almost certainly giving up a free kick. So that is a pretty well-played ball there.
And again, if you let the striker get behind you with the ball, there's real problems.
Yeah, definitely. Good job, disciplined defending there, just keeping her base, not allowing any trickery through.
Well, with the shade covering a lot of the field now, Sam, hopefully the temperatures have gone down a little bit out there for the players.
Yeah, definitely had gone down just a little bit, but still fairly warm. So I think it'll factor in, but I think we didn't see too much of it in the first half, so I think the second half will just be a little bit cooler and a little bit better.
And needless to say, won't be a factor for the night game for the evening contest from the men of Salisbury and the Knights men's soccer team.
No, it'll just be great. It looks really wonderful with the lights on, and it's really just I absolutely loved the night games here. They were some of my favorite ones.
And I know both the men's and women's soccer teams in facing Salisbury today, they really wanted to get the Capital Conference schedule off to a good start with a victory today.
Yeah, it makes a big difference down the road. If you can get wins at the start of the season, it just makes it easier for you on the second half of the season. And
of course, road contests are never easy to win. You got to deal with the other team's home field, plus the travel.
Yeah, and especially as Southern Virginia does have one of the biggest fields in the conference. They have really gone for the full-size field, and that can be an advantage for them, as some of the other teams have a little bit smaller field. And so the condition can factor in, not recognizing which lines you're playing with. As we can see, the football field lines can be a little bit confusing sometimes for some of the other players. But really, I think it's the full-size, full 120-yard field. It can be a little bit different for some of the other players, recognizing where the spacing is. But that home field advantage for the Knights is super nice.
Although the Seagulls have really taken to this field this evening with their passing game.
Yeah, you can see they've got about 6 players in the attacking third, really doing a decent job.
Good effort there by Meredith Willette to come out for that ball.
Looks like we'll have an offsides anyway, but really a good job to clear that out. Meredith Willette, not afraid to get a little contact there.
Of course, Meredith was a basketball player last year. Really good three-point shooter, and now a goalkeeper for the soccer team. And you talked about earlier, as something we mentioned in the first half, using the different goalkeepers. How do you think the Knights' three goalkeepers really compared? Are there drastic differences? Yeah, there's Willette making a nice key save there.
She does a good job. She knows where to be. As you mentioned, she's very athletic. She's also smart. She knows how to position herself. And that's really what's hard for a goalkeeper, is recognizing where the posts are, trying to stay at the right angle. So I do think each goalie has their own strengths. But it's difficult to say exactly what differentiates them, as they have faced different opponents. And so each team that they've played has had different strengths that they've had to counter for. So really, all three goalies have done a pretty decent job. But Meredith Willette was chosen for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Willette, in and of herself, there's the last two games, much different philosophy. Salisbury's been aggressive all night long, especially in the offensive end, and it was like 180 degrees the opposite direction the last time out for Meredith Willette and facing Randolph.
Looks like we'll have a free kick just outside the box here. Really a pretty dangerous area, especially with the sun still up. It's going to be hard to see this ball come in.
Oh, what a save by Meredith there.
Great job to recognize that. That's a tough flick to see. You can see the attacker just kind of flick it behind her there. But a great job in keeping positioning, recognizing where the ball was. Good job by the Knights defense there as well.
Now the Knights just have to find a way to possess the ball, get it out of their defensive end, and maybe hit 4 or 5 passes in a row to really take a shot at the other team's goal.
Yeah, you can see they're kind of flat. You can see a lot of, you can see almost straight lines across the field for them. In the defense, there's a couple of attackers there that they do need to mark, but the midfield has kind of been struggling. They're getting up and down, but I think their positioning is just a little bit off where they normally are. Formation doesn't seem terribly different, but I think the positioning is definitely different.
And Sam, kind of previewing the second game, the men's contest between Salisbury and Southern Virginia University. What's been your impressions of how the men's soccer team here for the Knights has really evolved this season? What do you look for in game two?
I think we look for a lot of defensive coordination from them. I know that's been a bit of a rough patch for them. They've had a few injuries, a few unfortunate things that have happened to some of their better players, Matt Deedy, and they've kind of been struggling a little bit in the center back position, but a few other players have stepped up pretty well. Merritt Weeks, Greg Allen does a good job on the ball. I think really it's going to be an interesting game for them tonight, because they do have to make some adjustments, and so really it's how they come out and make those adjustments that we'll see. And I think they've had some great opportunities. They're a team that's not afraid to shoot from pretty far out. They're pretty solid defensively. Colin Flynn in goal does a wonderful job as well. Does a really good job anchoring the back line, and really good at coming off his line when he needs to.
Now, it just seems like, you mentioned the injuries, it seems like the men's soccer team for the Knights have been beset by injuries the last couple of years now.
Yeah, it is. It's so unfortunate, because you can't really counter for it. It's difficult to prepare for, because soccer just takes a toll on you. I mean, there's a lot of reaching and stretching. And
well, plus you're looking for the right combination, and when you're moving people in and out, it's really tough I would imagine, from a team chemistry standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely, because each player has their own strengths. Some players are better at finding that pass. Some players are better at making the run. And, so that's why Coach Bohr just has to find the right combination, just like Coach Cox here, trying to just put the right team on the field for the right game. So we'll see who comes out for the men's game. But they do have plenty of talent, a lot of players that are really good.
There's an opportunity for Salisbury. Let's see what they do with it. Seagull's trying to get an inside position for a shot. And good defense by the Knights to knock the ball away, at least momentarily.
It's a good job by Ann Powell getting out on that and just shutting it down. But then Kira Tolbert, great help there, running out and covering. That's a difficult thing to do. A lot of times you can just kind of isolate your defender and leave them where they need to be. But Kira Tolbert making a good job of providing that cover defense on that, and not allowing the cross to come in, because that would have been really dangerous from that close.
Knights do recognize, I'm sure, Sam, that they get a goal here, we're all tied. It almost seems like an overwhelming lead for Salisbury. It's just because of the way that Salisbury has dominated play as far as just possessing the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. But as we saw against Randolph, one team can dominate the whole time, and then one goal turns it around pretty quick. Looks like we have a pretty good attack here. Allie Rigby open in the attacking third, doing a good job.
Let's see if she can get a shot off. Well, the Salisbury goalkeeper came out just in the nick of time to shut that play down.
That's Hope Knudsen, number 31 there. But really her first action of the game. Hasn't really seen too much. Pretty kind of errant ball there from the defense, not really trying to work too hard to get the ball off, and Allie Rigby just pounces on that and almost gets a great chance for the Knights there.
Much like the Salisbury goal, again, it's just a matter of whether the goalkeeper is going to be able to get to that ball before the striker gets there.
Yeah, that was so close, and she was very patient and waiting for a long time, but came off just before Allie Rigby shot that one.
Might have been the Knights' best opportunity so far tonight. And again, Willette forced to come out for the ball.
She does a really good job in recognizing when the defense needs her to do that.
See if the Knights can get some more opportunities like Rigby just had, because that was a great look for Rigby if she'd been maybe just a step faster to get to that ball before the goalkeeper.
Yeah, it looked like her last little dribble there was a little bit farther than she wanted it to be. Looks like they're trying to find number 16, Airdrie Palmer, down the side. Not able to do so. Looks like it rolls out for a throw-in for Salisbury. .15 minutes gone here in the second half.
And again, 1-0. Salisbury scored the game's only goal in the opening minutes of the first half. Knights seem to be doing a much better job here, Sam, in the last couple of minutes, really trying to possess the ball and go on offense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great job there. Cora Jewell recognizing nothing ahead of her, so you just turn and wait for something to build. Lays it off. Shirley Morales-Young not able to keep possession on that one, but that's a good job by the Knights, recognizing when there's nothing ahead, you got to just turn. It's better to maintain possession than to try to take one of those super long shots and hope for it. Another great attack for the Knights here.
Up on the right side, we'll see if the Knights get a shot off.
It's like Clarissa Barton down on that sideline again.
Yeah, the Knights doing a much better job here in the last 5 minutes, trying to maintain possession in the offensive area. And here's an opportunity on the left side.
Unfortunately, no one in there for the Knights. Looked like Cora Jewell's trying to find someone, but the cross just a little bit deep. Not able to connect with Allie Rigby in the center. But again, that's what you want to see from the Knights, is you start to see him challenge the goalkeeper a little more. Had a pretty quiet first half, but already she's getting two plays there in the last couple minutes. Cyan Smith with a throw in there. Just working the ball up the sideline.
Well, the Seagulls have it. Got a whistle.
Looked like she might have been offsides on that one. She had her back to the goalie, and so I don't think she recognized that the defensive line had moved up. They do a really good job of that.
Of course, in that Randolph game, as you mentioned, Sam, the Knights were able to score their only goal in regulation very late in that second half, so they're used to maybe going down to the final few minutes before, and same kind of score, 1-0.
Yeah, it's really oddly similar, but Knights haven't quite dominated as much as they did in that game. But again, you don't want to have to rely on something in the last 6 minutes. It's just a lot harder. It takes a toll on you, and you really want to just get something earlier, and then you're fighting for a different cause. You're not fighting just to stay in the game, but you're fighting to win the game. And so mentally, it's just a different strain.
Knights took Clarissa Barton out of the game, at least for a few minutes here.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see her back, but McCall Jensen steps on in the meantime.
And now Salisbury's trying to work it upfield and go back on the attack. Salisbury is sensing, I would imagine, that the Knights have started to really step up their offense. And the Seagulls recognize the importance of possessing the ball probably in the last 20-25 minutes to keep the Knights away from their goal.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're Salisbury, you are starting to get on your heels a little bit. They're definitely feeling the pressure, and Knights have gotten a couple good attacks here. So let's see what they can build off of this. Looks like they'll have a free kick about the midline. Let's see what they can build out of this. Looks like we have number 21, Kira Tolbert, on the ball. Crosses it and not able to get too much out of that, but goes in. Knights keeping pressure on. Got a few players in the box, but unable to keep the possession. We're joined now by Nash Jones. What have you seen from the first few minutes of the second half here?
You know, it looks like the Knights are getting down there. They're getting close. They seem to get down on their end of the field and get a few good passes, getting out on those corners, and just can't seem to connect with those side shots into the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely seems like they're able to get downfield. They, again, almost getting that through ball, doing a much better job, but not quite able to finish. That was something that we talked about in their last game as well against Randolph. But I mean, they finished with 6 minutes left. But again, you don't want to have to rely on that right at the end of the game. Strong pass there from Shirley Morales-John. A lot of contact. Ref elects to play on. A lot more contact, and now we'll have a whistle.
It's been a very physical game so far. A lot of bodies on the floor.
Yeah, interestingly, not too many fouls, but there has been plenty of contact. In the first half, we had 3 on Salisbury and just 1 for Southern Virginia, but contact definitely starting to pick up as we enter the last 25 minutes of the game. I do think the physicality will continue to go up as both teams are really looking to get a win here. And Powell doing a great job shutting that down. Unfortunately, it does roll out for a corner kick, but that's a lot less threatening than just letting that attacker have the ball in the defensive third there. Seems like for the most part here, Salisbury's kind of elected to run the same corner play. They've run a few people up at the top of the 18-yard box, and they just kind of crash in. Nothing too formal, but seems to have been a decent success. They got it 1 on frame. Looks like trying to go to the near post there, not able to do so. Rolls out for a goal kick for the Knights.
The Knights do a good job of playing defense right there, shutting that corner kick down, making sure she doesn't get a shot at all.
Yeah, it's really tough to give something up near post on that. That's definitely not what you want to do. So great job. Knights defense marking up on that. Again, a lot of contact there. Ref electing to give a free kick now. It's against number 20, Cyan Smith, earning that for the Knights. Again, if you're the Knights, you want to see a little bit more connection there. I think they've had a hard time moving from the defense to the midfield. It's good to earn that free kick there, but they almost immediately turn over the possession, and they got to keep doing that. But so far, it looks like we'll have a handball there for sure. Number 10 there, not quite able to keep her hands down. Ruthie Lucas, again, definitely been a threat against the Knights, but not going to let a handball go there. Oh, so close to trying to find that good through ball there. Looks like Airdrie Palmer making a good run through there, but not able to connect on the pass from Cora Jewell.
Ooh, that's a nice pass there by number 25.
A lot more contact results in a free kick for the Knights in a very dangerous position. It's about 30, just over 30 yards out, and this really could be dangerous for them. They do have a few players with a pretty good foot. They're definitely not afraid to shoot from this far, but we'll see. It looks like they're putting a few people in a few different positions, not too much drawn up, so we may see a shot on goal here by McCall Jensen. Pretty easy to figure out where 10 yards is based off of the football field there, so easy job for the ref. Looks like the shot moves to the far post and just barely out of bounds. As we discussed, McCall Jensen on that ball, I think maybe a little bit lower than she would have liked, but dangerous for the Knights there.
The Knights doing a good job of getting that ball down the field, drawing up that contact, getting that free kick. As we wind down here into the 20 minutes left, 21 minutes left.
Yeah, it's good to see that from the Knights. They definitely need to take a few more opportunities of these free kicks, corner kicks, that type of thing. As again, we see a lot of contact. Looks like we have Shirley Morales-Yan hits the dirt there on a pretty tough hit. Looks like the athletic training staff will be coming out to evaluate her. Seemed like a pretty tough hit to the ground there. Have a little stoppage in play. Now, if you're Coach Cox, what are you telling your team as they run to the sideline here?
No, I think he's got to tell them it's time to get going. Honestly, I think it's been a long game. They have 0 shots on goal, which is very, very tough. I know from soccer, and I mean even with Salisbury only having 3 shots on goal, they have won, and that's good for them going into this last 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really that is kind of the key. You got to just start letting things go. You got to let them fly, and really they've had some opportunities. They just need to finish. They just need to capitalize. They have had their fair share of opportunities now. As we discussed, Salisbury definitely able to control a little bit better so far, but it's not to say that the Knights haven't had their chances. So I think it is, as you said, it's time to finish. 20 minutes and 43 seconds here left in the second half. Seagulls up by 1, but they're not looking to slow down anytime soon. They've had just as many opportunities, and I think really it's time for the Knights to build that attack. The defense keeping them in this game for sure, doing a wonderful job, but you want to see some more attack here from the Knights.
The Knights did well last game, coming in clutch with the last couple minutes, getting that shot off by, who was that?
Taylor Mercer, I believe, got the golden goal there in overtime against Randolph.
She did. That was amazing. That was an amazing game, and hopefully the Knights, they can pull something off like that here in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have seen a couple players got subbed off. It looks like we had Emma Schroeder come on there for a little while. She's still on the field. Have had a few substitutions through the midfield. Looks like Coach Cox is trying to find something to build, something through the middle. But as you mentioned, the Knights do have quite a few attacking threats. Taylor Mercer with the goal against Randolph in the last game. But they do have quite a few other players that are not afraid to shoot. They just need to make the most of the shots that they get. Like Shirley Morales-Yan being helped off the field now. I believe we will be having a substitution. It's unfortunate to see the injuries. You don't want that. You want all the players, in their top shape, top performance. But looks like she may not be able to continue at this point, and we will have a substitution enter the game. Looks like we'll have number 7, Kayla Fairbanks, step in for Shirley Morales-Yan as a defender. Shirley doing a pretty good job in that left back position. I know she came from a winger's position before, definitely not afraid to run. Doing a pretty good job, but it looks like it's hard to tell exactly what they were evaluating on that one, but unfortunate to see.
It's always tough to have one of your key players go down. especially towards the end of the game.
Yeah, and especially as their defense has been doing pretty well, really. I mean, they did give up 1 goal in the 91st second of the game, but since then, really done a pretty good job of shutting down Salisbury. Done pretty good, but it's unfortunate, and hopefully Kayla Fairbanks able to just step in and fill the role. Salisbury definitely relentless in their attacks downfield. Looks like Lydia Narum, they're trying to get a shot off, but defender steps in front of that one pretty well. Would have been a tough shot anyway, as Meredith Ouellette's had a pretty good game so far, but again, both teams not afraid to just go for it. Again, a lot more contact. Ref letting a free kick result from that one. Now electing to wave on. We will just have a regular corner kick, despite the contact. Meredith Ouellette doing a good job coming out for that.
Great save.
It's a good job. Looks like Salisbury elected to just kind of put it into the 6-yard box and just try to crash and hopefully come out with something. But as we mentioned earlier, Meredith Ouellette, very athletic and very smart and knowing when to leave her line and come out strong for those. Did a good job there. Knights really need to settle down and try to just maintain the possession here. But so far, having a difficult time. Salisbury not making it easy for them. Throw in for the Knights goes well over the heads of the players and result in the change of possession. Great job by Ann Powell there. Able to get back for that one. Like number 7, Lydia Narum, trying to make that run again and again. But as we keep mentioning, Ann Powell, very, very fast player. Quite a defensive anchor for the Knights. Did a good job getting back and shutting that down. Looks like Salisbury has another shot on goal. Meredith Ouellette able to just keep that one in front of her, keep it contained. Knights not able to clear here, though. Airdrie Palmer takes the ball into the corner, tries to clear it out, makes it about 40 yards, but Salisbury maintains possession yet again. That's a very difficult shot. So that one's okay for the Knights there. Not too crazy, but Meredith hopefully able to just keep her team in order here, get the ball upfield, and hopefully the Knights can build something out of this.
This is a very, very tough and physical game for the Knights, with playing some hard defense. Salisbury not letting up at all.
Yeah, definitely not. As 17 minutes left in the game, and they are not letting down at all. You see them continue to attack. You can see quite a few players up in the attacking third, but as a cross comes in on an unmarked opponent, sails just wide of the goal. The Knights not recognizing a couple of players on the back post there. Lydia Narum really giving the Knights some trouble so far in the second half of this match, but need to start accounting for her. She's had a couple of dangerous runs there. There's 2 players on the back post, and like it was falling to her feet, and then she just pushed it wide. The Knights don't want to give up that ball into the center. Can result in some dangerous shots like that one, but sails over. Looks like Meredith Ouellette could have had that one, but tough to see from the Knights now. You don't want to see them giving up too many opportunities here.
The Knights definitely need to get this ball down on the other side of the field if they want to have some sort of chance of scoring. It seems like this half has been played a lot down on this side of the field.
Yeah, it definitely has. The Knights struggling to maintain possession, and the few opportunities they've had have come off of pretty quick counterattacks or Salisbury mistakes in the defense. Great job again. The defense of the Knights are keeping them in this game. Salisbury relentless in the attack, but again, and Powell there to shut that down. Not allowed to cross in on a very dangerous opportunity, almost inside the 6-yard box. Tough for the goalie to try to decide what to do, so that really the defense has to step in, and they have time and time again kept them in this game. It's a good clear there to just release the pressure, allow everybody to try to move upfield. Hopefully not let it back in, as most of the game has been played in the defensive third for the Knights. Ball will roll out just before it's crossed in there. Goal kick for the Knights. Have a couple substitutions come on. Looks like we'll have number 24, Kylie Auger, enter the game, a midfielder from Holiday, Utah. And number 20, Cyan Smith, midfielder from Farmville, Virginia. A couple interesting substitutions there by Coach Cox. Definitely trying to keep the attacking pressure on. She recognizes as we enter the last 14 minutes of the game, it's now or never. You got to get one.
Knights doing a good job of getting that ball down. If they can just work on this half of the field now, get their opportunities.
Salisbury definitely using all the space on the field. You can see their players spread out pretty well out on the sideline, out in the middle. Not able to complete the pass there. Results in a change of possession. Up for grabs. Salisbury comes out with it. Tries to go over the top, cross into the middle. A lot of pushing going on, but the ref electing to allow play to continue, and now will give a free kick for the Knights. Definitely a lot of contact on that. Lydia Narum making some good runs, but not afraid to put a little hand in the back there, and looked like number 20, Cyan Smith, in on that one, the result of that hand in the back. That's definitely looking upfield. They have the right mentality, trying to build something upfield, but so far unable to connect to the next level.
What do you think is going through Coach Cox's head right now as time is winding down, getting into the 12th minute?
I think you're looking at your bench, trying to find who's going to get the goal. So far, nobody on the field has stepped up and really built anything. I think we'll see a couple of changes in the attack, and the defense kept them in this game, doing a solid job. Really doesn't need to change anything there. Proud of the defense tonight, but I think the midfields and the strikers, you're looking at them, trying to figure out what's going to work for you. The Knights not short on talent. Their roster's definitely got plenty of players that are willing to score and know how to get there. But so far tonight, that's been the struggle for them. Knights trying to play quickly there, but another couple substitutions coming in. Looks like we'll have Taylor Mercer and Allie Rigby, two of the greatest attacking threats for the night. That's definitely a smart substitution there. Allie Rigby alone with 5 goals on the season. So definitely good to see that kind of attack coming back in for the Knights.
Well, Sam, you got 11 minutes, 11 seconds left on the clock. And I think Nash just brought this up a few minutes ago. The Knights are still looking for their first shot on goal, so they really need to apply the offense, just like they did against Randolph here in the last few minutes, if they will hope to turn this 1-0 deficit around.
Good opportunity here. Looks like Clarissa Barton just not able to get to that ball. Pretty good ball over the top. Looked like a diagonal run trying to come in, but yeah, as you mentioned, they maybe just wait until the last 6 minutes to score again and trying to get something here. But you can feel the pressure building, but just not able to come out with it yet so far.
And don't forget, Sam and Nash will bring you the second game tonight of our soccer doubleheader and our athletic tripleheader, as the Southern Virginia University men's soccer team will be taking on Salisbury approximately 8 o'clock tonight, and that'll be the Capital Conference opener for both those teams. Here, though, the Knights trail 1-0. They still have some time to work with. In fact, Sam, as we talked about in that Randolph game, the Knights went down under 10 minutes to get their tying goal, and hopefully they're going to get the same thing tonight, although, as you mentioned repeatedly earlier in the game, it's really tough to rely on that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is. But we know Knights team's not wants to give up, as they proved against Randolph, but as they proved really all season. And that's just how the programs are built. They don't give up. They'll use every minute that they have, and it can change the game for them. But you want to use the first 90. Oh, as a shot just barely sails wide there.
Although I'm guessing the Knights haven't had too many games this season where they've had no corner kicks and no shots on goal.
Yeah, I think it, and it's hard to say that it's been a defensive domination by the Seagulls.
Right.
I think really the Knights have just kind of let themselves down. They haven't built the way that they normally do all season, and so far without a corner kick, a couple of shots, but not really on frame. Hasn't really challenged Hope Nussin too much, but I think the Knights really just not able to get into their groove tonight and play the way that they want to.
Knights have been shut out 3 times this season. I think they had 13 goals in the 7 games they had played coming in. And the clock definitely becoming a factor right now. 8:45 to go. Tell you one thing, though, I really have been impressed today by Meredith Willett in goal.
Yeah, absolutely. She's done a wonderful job. Even with the one goal, really, she's done a wonderful job between the posts and the defense as well, the back line, keeping them in this game time and time again, allowing a dangerous opportunity to become substantially less dangerous just by their positioning and how they're attacking the ball.
And after the Knights had really gone on the offensive attack earlier in this second half, it looks like Salisbury has pretty much done what they wanted to do in the first half, and that's possess the ball. And I would imagine that's going to be their key concern here in the final 8 minutes. They recognize if they are passing the ball to each other and they've got possession, there's no way the Knights can tie the game.
Yeah, and I think as well recognizing the re-entrance of Allie Rigby and Taylor Mercer, some of the biggest attacking threats. We've already got a couple of touches on the ball here in the second half in the last 10 minutes, and I think Salisbury got their scouting report and knew how to handle it, but Knights really doing a good job bringing it back in, keeping the pressure on the whole 90 minutes.
I remember the Seagulls got their one and only goal in the opening minutes of this game, so they've been shut out for a number of minutes as well.
Yeah, you can tell the Knights have the right mentality. They're trying to work it upfield, but you got to work it up as a team. You can't just work it up by kicking the ball up there. So hopefully they can continue to try to work through each other and not just around each other almost.
Clock a huge factor now as we near the 7-minute mark.
It's about the time they scored against Randolph, so we'll see if they've got another one in the bag here. Number 16, Airdrie Palmer entering the game.
She played in all 17 games last year. And right now, of course, it just looks like Coach Cox is just trying to do anything and everything to find some offense here in the closing minutes.
And I think the danger from that can come when the defense recognizes they are playing defense, but then the attackers all feel that they're only playing offense, and so sometimes it can create a bit of a discord. You'll see the attacker stay upfield and not come back, which makes it very difficult for the defense to try to work through the, non-existent midfield to get the ball back up. So hopefully we don't start to see the division of offense and defense. You gotta keep working as a team the whole game.
So if you're the Seagulls here with just 6 minutes to go now and you're leading 1-0, do you even think about trying to, do you go all out for that goal that would really put it away, or you just focus on possessing and keeping the ball away from the Knights?
Oh, I'd be very minimally attacking. There's there's always the opportunity. There's always, you're working the ball upfield. You don't want to let it in towards your goal. But at the end of the day, you're more concerned about getting time off the clock. You're already up. You're not. All you have to do is not give up a goal. You don't have to score anymore. And so I think we'll definitely see some time delaying tactics coming in. And
well, you probably were hoping for a corner kick with under a minute to go, so you could maybe burn off 15 or 20 seconds there.
Yeah, there's a lot of time in between some of the plays to take off the clock. And so I think we will see that from Salisbury. And again, they're not particularly concerned about getting another one already with the lead. We'll see a few more substitutions come on. Looks like we have Katie Beam enter the game. But that's more of a time strategy than it is.
I'm thinking that's another area where you can burn off at least a few seconds simply by substitutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we enter the last 5 minutes of game, that's the smart play. And it's fresh legs. It's people that are trying to prove something as well. So, they're not going to come in and stand around. They're trying to prove something.
Would you like to see a rule where your substitutions, and maybe in the last few minutes, the clock stops, so you can't use that tactic?
I think it would be interesting, but it's a part of the game just as much as some of the other things that are super annoying. So, they could try, but it's a part of the game, just like having, live refs on the field. If you went to video for everything, it would be a better job. But, that's what makes it hard is the dynamic of the game. You get away with some things. And so I think that would be interesting, but it's just as much a part of the game as anything else, and so I don't expect that to be changing.
Yeah, and the referees would be dynamic, as you mentioned, trying to decide which refs are going to call it tight and which ones are going to let them play. Because we have seen a lot of contact tonight. Yeah,
we definitely did, especially probably about 30 minutes left in the second half. There was quite a few consecutive fouls, but ref, by and large, the first half not incredibly physical, but the second half definitely picked it up a lot, and you can see the Knights trying to push defenders up.
Uh-oh. And a good block by Willette on that shot attempt.
That is a very good save there. That is very difficult to get any piece of the ball because the attacker can go wherever they want on goal.
That almost looked like for a split second that Salisbury was going to put this game away.
Yeah, that would have been the nail in the coffin, I think. That would have been pretty tough, but Willette and the defense able to keep them in the game yet again.
Let's see how much time they take here on the corner kick. Not too much at all.
Yeah, I'm taking more than that if it's me. It's dangerous, though, bouncing around in the box.
And we are under 3 minutes on the clock now.
Knights are really trying to break out here.
Don't forget, about a half hour after this game ends, we'll have the men's contest. Nash Jones and Sam will have that for you. And here the Knights are trying to have a last-minute rally.
Good job.
Literally will be a last-minute rally because we're down to 2 minutes and 35 seconds left.
Yeah, that's a good job by the defense there, making the shot difficult. That's almost as useful as blocking it. Is if they can't get off a good shot, that's almost as useful as them not shooting at all, because obviously that one almost right to the goalkeeper, and that's a good job keeping the pressure up.
I'd imagine Coach Cox has got to be relatively pleased with their defense tonight, and certainly the goalkeeping.
Absolutely. They have done a stellar job in keeping, for the most part, keeping everything in front of them. There have been some opportunities. Salisbury has, about 6 shots on goal, and, but for the most part, the defense has been quite a highlight of this game for the Knights. Done a really good job.
But the Knights just have never been able to get their offense going. Again, still looking for their first shot on goal.
And I think, again, there, a statistical shot, but nothing really dangerous. Looked like she was trying to find someone and ends up just finding the goalkeeper.
Who burns off a few seconds. And now we're down to 90 seconds left.
And we'll see a few seconds come off the clock here. Might even see her just roll it out to take a few more seconds.
This would be a tough loss for the Knights, who played well defensively but just could never get their offense going, to open up capital play with a 1-0 loss.
Yeah, it is difficult to see. Really not a bad game, especially defensively, as you mentioned. Kept them in the game, did pretty well, pretty strong attempt, but the attack not able to finish the way they would have liked.
And you wonder if some other teams might check out this film and really go aggressively at the Knights in the first couple of minutes of the first half.
Yeah, I think even definitely even without the film, you want your team to do that. But yeah, as you mentioned, first 90 seconds, pretty easy for Salisbury.
Well, who knows, Sam? If we hadn't had that opening goal, we might be looking at a 0-0 game headed to overtime.
Yeah, it really hasn't been too dominating from Salisbury since their goal, but those first 90 seconds making the difference. One of the last 20 seconds of the game here.
Knights are going to need a miracle now. We're down to 15 seconds to go. Almost impossible for the Knights to score here, you would think, in the final 9 seconds.
Still going for it nonetheless, trying to just get the ball in, but it looks like that'll
Clock's
do it.
going to run out. Salisbury, very close game today against the Southern Virginia University Knights in the Capital Conference opener for both teams. And Salisbury scoring that opening goal in the opening minutes of the first half, and then just playing keep away against the Knights and hanging on for a 1-0 victory.
Yeah, an interesting strategy there by Salisbury, recognizing they did get the first goal within the first 90 seconds, a couple of minutes, but really we didn't see too much from them after that. They kind of just kept the tone down a little bit. Knights really tried to get something, but unable to finish the way they would have liked.
And the Knights again will be playing, I believe, next Tuesday, Emory and Henry, Sam, and then they will hit the road for Penn State Harrisburg for their next Capital Conference game. And they're just trying to figure out a way to get their offense going, because they scored 2 against Randolph, but one of those was an overtime goal, obviously. And in that game before that against Averett, it was a 1-1 double overtime tie. So right now they're just trying to find a way to get their offense going.
Absolutely, and they have plenty of players that can score. They really do. They have quite a bit of talent in the attacking third, and quite a few players that are willing to work with each other as well. Their midfield is quite talented, but just unable to connect tonight. Kind of unfortunate, a little bit unlucky on a couple of things. Had a few opportunities, good free kick, no corner kicks for them, which is difficult to look at anything for. That's free opportunities they need to take advantage of. But really, some good attacks from them. They have plenty of players that can. They just need to finish.
A reminder: Sam Horman and Nash Jones will be bringing you the men's contest between Salisbury and Southern Virginia University. That's coming up in about a half hour or so. So make sure you join Nash and Sam for the men's contest. It'll be the Capital Conference opener for both teams coming up in about 29 minutes or so here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. That'll finish things up for the women's contest. Final score again: Salisbury 1 and Southern Virginia University 0. Thanks for watching Knights Women's Soccer here from the fields at Southern Virginia University.